Okay, I'm just doing a sound check because every single live stream of... Oh, sounds good. Perfect. Good. Well, we're not due to start for another 30 seconds, but I will get going. Thank you so much for joining me this evening on yet another Sunday evening live stream. Great to be with you all again. I think this is the 7th, maybe even the 8th in a row, and I do intend on making these a regular Sunday evening event whilst I am in the UK at home. I thought I'd just start off by giving you an update of what's been going on in my world this week, and please feel free to chat amongst yourselves as well in the live chat. Let us know where you're all from, let us know what you've been up to, and really use the chat as a community kind of engagement tool. Some of the Q&As that I'll be doing, I'll obviously be answering the best I can. But if you've got questions, I know there's more experienced people in the chat as well, and maybe you're a beginner with less experience, feel free to use the chat as an opportunity to get your questions answered there as well. I really want to make this live stream a real kind of aquascaping global community event, hopefully every Sunday, for as many Sundays as we can do. So this week has been a really good week, actually. I know we're on lockdown still in the UK. The government guidelines have kind of eased a little bit, so some people are going back to work, but if you can work from home, which I can, I'm staying at home for the foreseeable future, which actually suits me. As much as I love traveling, I love my home and I love my family, and I've used this opportunity to set up more aquariums, enjoy my aquascaping hobby even more than I usually do from a home perspective. And I guess I'd like to encourage you guys to do that yourselves as well, especially if you're on lockdown and you might be climbing the walls a bit, but at least you have your aquariums to give attention to and to hopefully use as a kind of therapeutic outlet, something that can help you relax, just the maintenance of them, or just literally just sitting in front of an aquarium for any length of time. There's clinical evidence now that suggests that this can lower blood pressure, lower anxiety levels, etc. So I'd really encourage you guys, if you don't already, to use your aquariums to their full potential. So I did another Instagram story asking my Instagram followers for questions. Let's just make sure we've got audio. I'm just paranoid now about the audio kicking out. Yeah, perfect, good. So I did go on Instagram, I think this morning, and asked the community there to post some questions, and I said the top 5 I'll answer on the live stream. It'll get the ball rolling, and then you can feel free to ask your own questions in the chat. Whilst I'm answering them, feel free, like I said at the beginning of the stream, ask your own questions if you like, and hopefully some more experienced people on the chat might be able to answer for you. And then after those 5 or 6, I've actually got 6 questions because there are so many great questions. And I just want to say thank you as well to my Instagram community. The guys, some really, really great questions. And I'm sorry I can't answer them all as much as I'd love to. The stream would probably last about 5 hours or so. But I've got 6 great questions that I'm really excited to answer for you. And they're quite a diverse range of questions. So kind of beginner friendly to more experienced levels, covering a broad range of topics as well. So hopefully something that might interest all of you. So without further ado, let's get started on those questions, and thanks again for joining, really appreciate it. If you do enjoy this stream, consider hitting that like button, it's really appreciated. It's not to feed my ego, it's to more kind of just promote the video more on the YouTube algorithm. So the more likes a video gets, the more likely it's going to get recommended to people that might be into aquascaping. So that's a great thing for me. My passion is to promote aquascaping. So let's dive over to the questions. Question number 1 is, they're no particular order, but question number 1 is from Rhinos. Oh, is it? Just bear with me a second. It looks like it's frozen. Yep, no, we're good. Yes, we are good. So paranoid about my Wi-Fi freezing up on me again. Rhinos Aquatics asks, has keeping has keeping aquascapes helped me be calmer and improved mental health? Yes, is a simple answer. I wanted to I deliberately chose this as the first question to answer because it kind of leads into a lot of other topics, and I think it's a really important topic, mental health. And I don't mind admitting to you guys that I have suffered with mental health issues, and this was largely a result of some traumatic things that I experienced in Afghanistan, in fact. And simultaneously to that, I went through divorce, and everything kind of got on top of me. I had a bit of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and combined with a divorce, etc., moving house, moving out of my family home into a new flat or an apartment. And aquascaping really, really helped. One of the first things I did when I moved into my apartment or flat is set up an aquascape. And just that whole process, that creation process, having a beautiful aquascape to live with really kind of helped relax me. It gave me a sense of purpose. And at the time, I made that transition from the Royal Air Force to full-time aquatics. And that in itself was a stressful time. So, just having a beautiful aquarium to live with really, really did help. And it helps to this day. I still use aquascaping as a therapy, but it's a little bit different now because aquascaping is actually my sole source of income now. It's also a potential stressor. So actually, I don't solely use aquascaping as therapy. I have other kind of tools in my toolbox to help now. So, I live a healthy lifestyle. I exercise regularly, eat healthy food, focus on good sleep, etc. All the good stuff. So, but aquascaping, to answer the original question, Rhinos Aquatics, thank you so much for that. Aquascaping has definitely helped me, and I know it's helped loads and loads of other people. I've had lots of emails, lots of PMs, DMs, etc. Thanking people for helping me to inspire them with their aquascapes, and it's really helped them on their journey, their mental health journey, as well as their aquascaping journey. And I'm really grateful to be able to kind of help people with that. So that's a really great question. Thank you so much. So we'll go on to the next question. Aquascape Flame 15. What's the optimal temperature for a planted tank? It really depends. I think number one priority should be the livestock that you're keeping. So if you're keeping fish and shrimp, etc., these should be the priority in terms of creating an environment that's healthy for them because they're a living entity. So always bear that in mind. But my general kind of rule of thumb is try to keep the water temperature on the cooler side if possible. So if your fish are happy with a temperature range of say 24 degrees Celsius, which is 75 Fahrenheit, up to 28 Celsius, which is 82 Fahrenheit, then I would keep it at the 24 degrees Celsius or 75 Fahrenheit. And the reason for that is because all living things are the biological processes, the metabolic rates of everything is dependent on the temperature. So the warmer the water is, the quicker everything happens. All the biological processes happen more quickly. So the fish produce more waste because they're respiring more quickly. They use more oxygen. They create more carbon dioxide, and this can potentially lead to issues. So really warm water, it can lead to very low oxygen levels, can lead to lots of waste production, and this can lead to algae issues and of course other kind of fish health issues. So I prefer to go on the cooler side, and the vast majority of my aquariums are around 24 Celsius or 75 Fahrenheit. Sometimes they're even a little bit cooler if the fish are happy with the cooler water. I've kept quite a few subtropical aquariums now with just room temperature. I live in the UK and I have a centrally heated home, so the temperature of an aquarium is usually around 21 Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit off the top of my head, but definitely try to keep things on the cooler level. So yeah, thanks for all the chats, guys. Looks like it's really busy in the chat room there. Thank you so much. Hope you're having a lovely chat amongst yourselves. Thanks for the super chats. I will go into a separate Q&A and use that as an opportunity. If you do want to drop a super chat, then that would be ideal. And then I can definitely focus on your question and definitely get your super chat questions answered there. So please do bear with me on that. And yeah, if we can get to 100 likes, that would be epic. Oh, we're at 106 already, so that's really appreciated. Thank you so much. Yeah, and follow me on Instagram. Thanks, Candy. Got to give Candy a massive shout out. She's so epic on these live chats, giving links and really keeping on top of things. So thanks, Candy. Really appreciate your hard work. Okay, third question. Noob Dude Scaper. Shout out to him. He's really active on Instagram and comments a lot. So appreciate your support, mate. Do I believe that limiting nitrogen promotes deeper colours in plants? Now, this is quite a controversial topic. Basically, what the evidence, the anecdotal evidence suggests is that when you limit nitrogen, the plant basically almost kind of becomes a little bit stressed, and particularly with red plants can induce a more red coloration. In green plants, I would suggest actually limiting the nitrogen may give you more pale growth rather than a more intense green colour. So I would always err on the side of caution when limiting nitrogen. But if you know what you're doing and you're dialed into your own system and you know how to control it, and you're quite experienced at observing the plants and knowing what to do to keep them healthy, then by all means, dial back that nitrogen dosing a little bit and observe the plants and see how they act. In my experience, it definitely does, with some plant species, induce a more red coloration in conjunction with intense lighting. But it's a double-edged sword, because as you limit nitrogen, you can potentially run into a deficiency, and then the plant can struggle, and that leaves the door open to algae issues. So always do so with caution. But it's not an easy kind of yes or no answer, as most answers are in the plant and aquarium world. There's very little binary answers. So hopefully that answers your question, and thanks for the question, and thanks for your support, mate. Samford199, this is a great question. What's your opinion on liquid CO2? Not everyone can afford a dual stage regulator. So let's just clarify liquid CO2 to start with. It's actually a bit of a myth. I don't know why it's called liquid CO2, because there's actually no CO2 in it. Another name for it is liquid carbon, and you have brands like probably the most well known is Seachem Flourish XL. You also have Easy Life, Easy Carbon, TNC Carbon, Colombo, Flora Grow, Carbo. I think there's an API one called CO2 or Carbon Booster or CO2 Booster. I think it's a little bit naughty actually of the brands to market them as a CO2 replacement product, because it doesn't actually increase the CO2 levels at all in your aquarium, and it doesn't. I've actually read some papers on it, and there's a really great article. I don't know if any of you, I assume most of you guys are on Facebook, but Karen Randall has actually published a very good paper, an article on one of her Facebook groups. I can't remember the name of it. Maybe Candy will know. Detailing some of the science behind it and some of the maths behind the extra carbon levels that the so-called liquid CO2 products produce, and it's absolutely minimal. And my main issue actually with liquid CO2, in inverted commas, is that it's actually based, the main active ingredient is glutathaldehyde, which is a biocide, basically means designed to kill life. So we're in a liquid CO2 product, it's a very, very small dose. It's usually, I think, 2% glutathaldehyde, and we're only dosing, 1 milliliter per, 20 gallons or so. So in that small dose, it's not necessarily going to cause acute toxicity in the living organisms, but even so, I wouldn't recommend adding a potential poison, even in small doses, in any aquarium. It is a fantastic algaecide, and this is, I think, why a lot of people use it, is to help kill algae. And even there, I'm not a big fan. I'd rather get rid of the cause of the algae and not the symptom. So, you know, by adding liquid CO2 to kill the algae, you're only really putting a sticky plaster over it. You're not addressing the cause of the algae, which is likely poor plant growth, not enough plant growth, or inappropriate light, nutrient balance, and poor maintenance, or a combination of all those things. So if you address those, then you shouldn't need liquid CO2 to get rid of algae. And its actual positive effect on plant growth is negligible. You know, there's been tests done. It is very negligible. So I actually don't recommend it at all. And I actually recommend not using it at all unless you're experienced and you're using it deliberately to spot dose maybe some specific types of algae like blackbeard algae or blackbrush algae, etc. It's very effective for that. But like I said, always address the cause of the algae, and that's, you know, the long-term solution. So quite a long answer to that. Very good question. Thank you. Dory Scape, good old Mark Dory. How are you doing, mate? Hope you're watching. As you get into aquascaping, what is the one thing you recommend people spend a lot of money on? Great question. You could spend it on a lot of things, couldn't you? Yeah, there's lighting, CO2 kits, decent substrate system. All of these things are really going to help benefit your plant health. So it's kind of it's up to you, really. But actually, I gave this a lot of thought, this question. It's a really great question. The one thing that I would recommend people spend more money on, assuming that they have a system capable of growing aquarium plants, is plants. The plants themselves. Buy really, really healthy plants. Get them as fresh as you can from the store. Find out from the store. I talk about this all the time in every single live stream probably. Find out from the store when they get their next shipment of fresh plants from the nursery. Get them on the same day, hopefully, and then you're going to have a much higher chance of success with those plants because they're going to be in the best condition. Unfortunately, in a lot of stores, the plants are put in an underwater holding system, not in optimal conditions, so the lighting might not be appropriate, they might not have CO2 injection, they might not have good circulation, it might be kind of overcrowded, and the plant is going to be suffering more than likely. At least if it's not suffering, it's not going to be growing optimally. So if you can get your plant fresh as possible, then do that. And buy loads of plants. Plant the tank as heavily as you can. So in a new aquascape, you know, put your substrate in, put your hardscape in, and then really plant heavily. You almost want like this full aquascape, you know, fully planted, hardly any spare gaps in the soil or on the hard, you know, put loads of epiphytes on the hardscape if that's what you want to do. Maybe even use floating plants as well. Make sure you use lots of fast growing stem plants from the start as well. This is really going to help combat algae issues. And you'll just have a much better startup with planting heavily with lots of healthy plants. So that's my number one. That's what I would spend more money on. After that, I would definitely look at a CO2 injection system, pressurized system, if you really want to get the best chance of success. And then lighting, because actually arguably you can grow more demanding plants with less light if you have CO2 injection. And the benefit of this, of using less light, is that you're going to get less risk of algae. Obviously you need to meet this kind of minimum light threshold where there needs to be a certain amount of light to grow the plant, but you'd be surprised perhaps how little light you actually need if all of the other conditions are appropriate. And actually this is what I kind of recommend for beginners. You know, don't start off with high lighting, start off with easy plants, start off with low light, good soil. My favourite is Tropica aquarium soil, CO2 injection if you can afford it, good liquid fertiliser, Tropica Specialised or Tropica Premium or any of the other kind of comprehensive all-in-one fertilisers, good quantity of healthy plants, and you'll get the best possible start. Great question, thank you, mate. Callum Mutton 5, would I ever consider opening my own aquatics or aquascaping store? This is a great question. And if you asked me, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, I would have said, yeah, absolutely, love to have my own aquascaping shop, you know, living the dream in a shop every day, surrounded by aquascapes, meeting meeting like-minded enthusiasts, taking photos of my tanks for Instagram, and just kind of living, most of my days in this aquascaping kind of gallery. That was kind of my a little bit of a pipe dream back then. And, kind of my circumstances now more than ever, I probably have the kind of best opportunity to set up an aquascaping store. But as I've kind of grown in my hobby and my career, I've realised what's more important for me and my kind of value set and my purpose. And that's to promote aquascaping and to make aquascaping more accessible to people. And at the moment, my current kind of, my diverse kind of work basket, if you like, of creating content for YouTube, working closely with really good brands, doing aquascaping workshops in a massive variety of retailers all over the world, writing a book, featuring in magazines, and being on radio shows. I've even been on TV, podcasts, etc. This huge diverse kind of work basket, for me it fulfills my kind of value set of promoting aquascaping, and just from a personal level gives me the most kind of gratification of executing my passion of aquascaping in as many ways as I can. And so the issue for me with setting up an aquascaping store is it would vastly limit that diversity. And just from a practical perspective, I actually was chatting with my wife Emma about this because it was such a great question. I'd have to move house because actually, arguably, there's probably one of the best aquascaping stores in the UK, like 5 kilometres, 3 miles from my house, Aquarium Gardens. So for me to set up an aquascaping store near to Dave, and he's actually a dear friend of mine as well, would be really awkward. And, just from a business point of view, that kind of competition thing would really be an issue. So that's a practical issue that would definitely kind of hold me back from setting up an aquascaping store. But great question. I hopefully answered it to you. Retail is a massive respect to all the independent retailers, all the retailers out there. They're doing a great job, a very challenging job, especially right now. I have a huge respect for them, and kind of out of that respect and my kind of my desire to work closely with a broad range of retailers. I'm a huge fan of collaboration rather than competition, and me offering my services as an aquascaper to do in-store workshops, etc., or consultancy, things like this, that kind of rules out the choice of setting up a store. So there we go. Quite a long answer to that one. So thank you. So we've got a few super chats already. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it looks like the chat is really buzzing. This is really great to see, guys. Really makes me happy seeing so many comments coming through. Thank you. So Mike Moran has given me a £2 super chat. Thank you so much. You haven't asked a question, so I can't answer anything for you right now, but feel free to ask a question. Okay, so that is the 6 questions from Instagram. If you do follow me on Instagram, so George Farmer Studios, and if you kind of pay attention in particular to my stories on Sunday mornings, UK time, then I am doing this kind of pattern of using this as an opportunity for you to ask questions prior to the live stream. I'll pick out my kind of favourite few, and then we use this to get the ball rolling as we have just done. So make sure you follow me on Instagram and you can have the opportunity to ask some questions there. Joanne Cummings, £5 super chat. Thank you so much, Joanne. Really appreciate it. Okay, guys, so if you want to ask some questions, feel free. If you want to drop a super chat, that will kind of guarantee your question getting answered, but I will do my best to run through. There's so many. Aqua Designs, are you launching your own product lines? No, not yet, and I'm not sure if I will. So I work really closely with a couple of brands, especially if you watch my YouTube videos, although I haven't uploaded anything so recently, but I'm sponsored by Tropica, who I work very closely with. I want to give a shout out to Tropica actually, especially their YouTube channel. One of the reasons I'm not uploading so frequently on my own channel is that I'm producing content for Tropica, 2 videos a week at the moment. So if you want to see kind of some high quality aquascaping and planted tank content, then check out the Tropica Aquarium Plants channel. And also been doing some videos for Awase UK, so check out their YouTube. I recently aquascaped my Awase Styleline 125, which I did a full step-by-step on. So if you're subscribed to their channel, then you'll see that coming soon. So yeah, I like to work with brands. They support me. You know, I am self-employed, so I need financial support to live, to put a roof over my family's head, etc. And working closely with specific brands is a very kind of secure way to you know, build my career and ensure some financial security, which is obviously really important when you're self-employed. If I ended up having my own product line, then there's obviously potential you know, competition, conflict of interest, and actually I think knowing how I am as a person, I think having my own product line would be really stressful for me, and I don't really fancy putting myself in that kind of position where I can kind of collaborate with a more diverse range of brands and people, and not have the stress of just focusing on my own products and trying to sort of outcompete people, if that makes sense. So yeah, at the present time, my own product line isn't something I'm really considering. Saying that, I did work very closely with Evolution Aqua a couple of years ago. For 2 years, I worked with them as their kind of the Aquascaper brand ambassador. It was actually my own brand, the Aquascaper, which I kind of signed over to Evolution Aqua, and it's doing very well. You know, I worked with them for 2 years. We built up the Aquascaper brand really well. There's a great range of products from Evolution Aqua. This is an Evolution Aqua Aquascaper 1200. So I kind of had that box ticked, if you like, in terms of having in part my own product line. It wasn't my own, it was obviously Evolution Aqua's, but I had a huge kind of impact on it and an influence on it. And you know, that taught me some stuff about the industry, and it kind of taught me what I wanted to do and you know, what I didn't want to do. So that's kind of where I am right now with that. So it's a great question, thank you so much. Okay, so we've got we've got some more super chats. I think I've missed someone. I do apologise. I think Candy. Tales from the Man Cave, 5 CHF. I can't remember what currency that is. Last week's question about growing Utricularia graminifolia. I've managed to grow it in Amazonia light and straight RO water, as well as established filter media. That is a great bit of feedback. I have always struggled with Utricularia graminifolia, or UG. Maybe that's something I'll try in the future. So thanks for that feedback and those tips. I really appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to dive straight. Some great questions that I want to answer, but I need to dive over to the super chats first. I think that's Dory. Spend it wisely. Weekly pocket money. Thank you so much again. He drops these little bits of pocket money every week. I'm really grateful. I'm going to definitely buy you a beer or a coffee whenever I see you next. C Math, $4.99. Thank you so much. Last time I mentioned having a 65 to 70 par at the substrate. Would that be considered medium to high light? Please go briefly on your weekly maintenance. Yes. At the moment in this aquarium, I'm actually running the Twin Star 1200 and the Twin Star 600, which is spanning front to back in the centre, as you can see. So actually, probably the PAR now at the bottom is about 100. With just the 1200, it was probably about 60 at the substrate. I would consider that to be moderate to high lighting, absolutely. And you can grow, I would argue, you can grow almost any plant at all that you'd want to with that amount of light. You would definitely need CO2 injection to balance that amount of light, because the plants are going to be trying to grow really, really quickly. So to satisfy their demand, you need to supply extra CO2 and extra nutrients. You know, we talk about balance quite a lot in planted aquariums. My weekly maintenance, in fact, I'm doing kind of 2 or 3 weekly maintenance on this now. I'm trying to get it ready for the IOPLC, contest, which is in 2 weeks today. So I'm desperately trying to grow these stem plants at the back, really compact, really colourful, and that's why I've got the 2 lights on there. And consequently, I'm doing more water changes because I'm just going to get algae unless I do the more water changes. So, but if it was just regular, just running the one twin star, I would do at least a 50% water change once a week. But important to note that the water change is always the last part of the maintenance process. So, because the reason for that is by the action of cleaning the aquarium glass, messing around with the plants, cleaning the substrate, etc., you're going to dislodge a load of waste organics, etc., into the water, and then that kind of dirty water, if you like, needs to be diluted with a big water change. So always do the water change last thing. So yeah, my standard thing would be actually whilst the water's draining, so I actually siphon the water with a long hose into my garden. We've just bought a load of beautiful new plants for the garden, so actually I'm using the opportunity to water them with the nutrient-rich water from the aquarium, which is really helpful for the garden plants. So I siphon the water out straight into the garden, whilst that's siphoning out quite slowly, because it's a long hose and it's not a huge diameter hose. I'm cleaning the glass. I'm kind of waving my hand above the substrate to lift off the organics. I'm getting the inlet strainer, sucking out all of the dirty water, basically, which is attached to the siphon hose, and cleaning the glass, cleaning the plants, giving the plants a trim, and all that's happening all kind of automatically while the water's draining. Then I'll also clean the pre-filter in my Awase Biomaster 600 thermo filter. That can be cleaned in about 5 minutes maximum. So clean that whilst it's emptying or whilst it's filling up. And then reverse process, plug in the end of my siphon hose into my pump, which is in the kitchen, pumping water straight from my kitchen tap, bit of Fritz dechlorinator, fresh dechlorinated water at the right temperature, gets pumped direct into the aquarium to fill up after the water change. And that is it. And the whole process I've kind of gotten down to about 30 minutes now, 45 minutes maybe on this tank. And I do that at the moment at least twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. I did it today and I did it 2-3 days ago. And yeah, as you can see, it works a treat. So that's kind of what I do. I've got 6 aquariums running now at home, all planted except the Malawi cichlid tank. And I managed to maintain all 6 tanks doing at least a 50% water change on each tank. Cleaning the glass, I think I cleaned 3 filters. And I did all of the 6 tanks in 2.5 hours, which I was very proud of. I think that's a really efficient water change and everything else system. So I was really chuffed with that. Josh ATX, my regular super chat friend, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Philippe Santos, thank you so much. I think that's Canadian dollars. $13.99, very generous, thank you. Hi George, if we have a really thick Monte Carlo carpet, is it a good idea to remove them and replant again? After a couple of trimmings, there are more roots than leaves. Yes, I would argue that you could just remove the whole carpet and then just pick off the most healthy parts and replant it. And then in the future, moving forward, just trim that carpet more regularly and don't let it build up to such a thick carpet. I do recommend you check out the latest video that was actually uploaded today. It was made public today on the Tropica Aquarium Plants YouTube channel, all about Monte Carlo. And it does talk about maintenance of the plant in that video. So do check out that video. I had really good fun making that. And I want to give a shout out to Radu, my colleague at Tropica, who sends me over the footage for these videos. And I simply write a script and then do a voiceover and then do the final edit and upload, etc. But yeah, shout out to Radu for doing most of the video content on those videos. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. We've got another super chat. Hank Scar, thank you so much. Amateur Aquatics, yeah, shout out to Peter Roscoe. Check out his channel. We did a live stream on Instagram earlier this week, I think it was. Really great guy, ex-military as well, so we had plenty to chat about, and a really funny and really, really great guy. And yeah, wearing olive green in, I would say, kind of out of respect for our military. Actually, it's just what I had, the first kind of t-shirt that I grabbed out of my wardrobe. Camilla Asmussen, lucky tropical aquacube owner, found it on a flea market. Want to replace the halogen light, it gets hot. Do you find an alternative? You do. I've got, in fact, I'm going to show you here. In fact, I need to post, I need to post one to a friend of mine. I just Googled, if you Google on Amazon, or if you use Amazon, I got these from Amazon, it's a 5-watt G4 LED, 6,000 Kelvin, and it's actually brighter than the 20-watt halogen and doesn't produce anywhere. In fact, let me just show you. I'm just going to pan the camera around for you and you can see. Can you see it there? So that's what I've got. Let's get closer for you, in fact. Hopefully it's not going to... Here we go. So this is the light I've changed it to, LED G4. Just go on Amazon and I'm sure you can find something. I had to buy a multiple pack. I think there's a pack of 5. In fact, you know what? Because you've dropped a super chat, if you can somehow get hold of me, if you drop me a, if you click the email option on my Instagram, so George Farmer Studios, there's an email button. If you hit that, give me your address and I will post out to you a spare bulb, because I have 5 of them and they'll last years. So yeah, as a thank you, and a thank you for watching my content, and a thank you for the super chat. It's the least I can do. So give me your address and I'll send over a spare bulb for you. Thank you again for another super chat. We've got lots of Danish people in the house today. That's great. Hank Scarth, do I run through the water change regime after scaping until fish are added? Can I run through the water change regime after scaping until fish are added? Yeah, absolutely. My kind of standard methods that I do for new scapes when using, especially when using a soil-based product, because it contains lots of nutrients that can potentially leach into the water and might cause algae, as well as just having a new aquarium does trigger algae. I change at least 50% of the water every day for the first week, every other day, every 2 days for the second week, every third day for the third week, and then after 4 weeks I'll go to changing 50% of the water once a week. Now after week 3 usually I'll add my first livestock, so shrimp, snails, and maybe even fish. I have added shrimp and snails after just a few days before with using a soil, but I have just kept up those water changes just to make sure, because the potential issue with a lot of soils is they leach ammonia. So obviously this is going to be really harmful for your livestock. But you could, if you're doing the big water changes, and if you have a mature filter or mature filter media, then you can get away with maybe adding the livestock sooner. But I really like kind of waiting to add the fish, because at least 3 or 4 weeks, because it just gives me a chance to kind of really consider what fish would look best in that aquascape, and it just makes sure that, you know, it's really good to add the fish after the plants are a little bit more mature. But once they've settled in, they've started really growing, they've got an established root structure, they've got the capability to take in nutrients. So when you do add your fish, you're gonna have less chance of running into algae issues. So if you can wait at least sort of 3 weeks or so, then I would definitely do that before adding any fish to a new aquascape. Thank you for the super chat. Niels Hansen, thank you for the super chat. Hi G, have I considered making an outside pond? I've considered it, but I'm not going to do it because my garden's too small for it really, and I have enough kind of aquatic stuff in the house. So I love ponds, I love a beautiful pond, I really like Japanese koi, and I love the Japanese kind of garden effect. I might, you know, there's nothing. I could get like one of these really small ones maybe to put on the decking. We had some decking put in last year, which would look really nice. But yeah, at the moment, a pond is not an option. Okay, Varun Nukchadi, which filters do I use? Yeah, absolutely Biomaster from Awase, or the Filto Smarts, which are like the smaller externals for smaller aquariums. And I'm actually running 2 of their internal filters, which are the Bio Plus, and they actually have a built-in heater as well. So quite a big fan of those. I've got a Style Line 125 and an 85, which have both got the internal filters on, which do a great job. The only issue for me with the internal filters is they're taking up real estate in the aquascape and they look quite ugly. So I try to use kind of tall plants to hide them. But my favourite by far is the Awase Biomaster Thermo. It comes with the built-in heater and the quick release pre-filter, which is market leading. There's no other filters on the market which combine those 2 options. The Aquiel do a pre-filter, quick release pre-filter, and Eheim do a built-in heater, but Awase are the only one that combine those 2 options. And Awase, they're a really high quality brand, German company. The filters are actually made in Italy, I think. Really good quality plastic, and I've been using them since they were released, and I haven't had any issues at all yet. So, and that's one of the reasons I'm an ambassador for Awase is almost just because of that Biomaster filter. It's what really kind of got me introduced to Awase, and now we work very closely on lots of different projects. Lots more stuff coming up next year with them. My contract with them has been extended for another year, so I'm really pleased about that. So yeah, absolutely recommend the Awase Biomaster. And I'm not saying that because I'm an Awase ambassador. I'm saying that as a hobbyist that actually bought an Awase Biomaster when they first came out, because I just love those 2 features, the quick release pre-filter and the built-in heater. MH Aquatics, do I have any plans to go to Wharf Aquatics soon? No, I'm still doing the stay-at-home thing as much as I can. I know you can potentially go to stores if you want to and exercise the social distancing, but I have no real need to go that far. I will potentially be going to an aquarium store to buy some fish for my Style Line 125 fairly soon, but that's more local. But that said, I do love Wharf Aquatics. Sean Evans is a friend of mine. I featured him in Practical Fish Keeping magazine, in fact, a few years ago as a reader visit feature, where I photographed his fish room and interviewed him. And I've done a couple of workshops there as well. So I know Wharf really well. Great store, probably one of the best in the UK in terms of diversity and quality of fish and other products as well. So yeah, I would look forward to seeing them at some point in the future. Matt, getting an EA 600, have a Twin Star 450, will it fit? If you can suspend it, obviously the 450 has the legs on it, and obviously it's too short to directly fit on the 600. So if you could figure out some way of suspending it, then that's an option. But your light spread will be limited, so you might struggle to get good light penetration in the corners of the aquarium. So if you can afford it, I would recommend upgrading to the 600. If you can't use the 450, then potentially trade it in or sell it second hand, and then use that use that money to put towards another 600. So it's a tricky one, that. Okay, New Mexico Aquatics, my friend Little Bobby, how you doing, mate? Good to see you on here. Here in the US, we have pearlweed, listed as Hemianthus micranthomoides or micranthum and micranthomoides. Do I know this plant? Does it get used in Europe? Cheerio, Little Bobby. Absolutely. Yeah, Micranthum and Micranthomoides, or Hemianthus, and I think it's actually been reclassified again to Hemianthus glomeratus. Great plant, beautiful plant, really kind of beautiful stem plant. Stays quite compact, really kind of tight leaves. Does need good light and CO2 to thrive, but it is I wouldn't say a well-known plant, but it's definitely a plant that you can get over here. And I've grown it in a couple of aquascapes, but it's quite demanding, I find. So yeah, I tend to stick to easy plants. Even all the plants in this tank, apart from the Hydrocotyle verticillata, are all easy. Even though I've got like a high-end setup with lots of light, CO2, etc., I just love to show off the easy species. You know, if you look at the Tropica website, look at their list of plant species, probably around half of them, maybe 40% of the plants are easy category, which means you can likely succeed without CO2 or highlighting. So, you know, part of my kind of mission is to make aquascaping more accessible, and this is one of the reasons I really like to stick to the easy plants. Okay, James Dyer, sorry I've forgotten your super chat earlier, and we've got Steve Killing back. Thank you for the super chats, guys, really appreciate it. James Dyer asks, hi George, hope you're well. How long is CO2 on before the lights come on, and what's your first thoughts on the Vivid 2? Great question. I have the CO2 come on, I think, 2 or 3 hours before the lights on here, and then in a smaller aquarium I'll probably just run it for an hour or so. So the bigger the aquarium, the longer before the lights I have the CO2 come on, so that CO2 can build up, and then the plants can begin to use that CO2 as soon as the lights come on. Some people have it come on at the same time of the lights and have good results, but my understanding and my experience is the higher that CO2 is, as soon as the lights come on, the better the plants will kind of use it and grow, and the better the plants are growing, the less chance of algae you get. Thank you for the super chat and the great question, James. Next we have, we missed Steve Killing back. Oh no, Steve's a really good guy as well from Norwich, I know Steve. Candy, please, if you can find out Steve Killingback's question for me, that would be massively appreciated. Another super chat from Philippe Santos, very generous this evening, Philippe, very appreciate it. $6.99 Canadian, I think that is. After massive trimming, do I change something to reduce the liquid fertilizer amount or reduce light time to avoid algae? I don't actually, and you probably should, because the biomass has been reduced, so the nutrient uptake rate of the aquarium system is going to be reduced because you've taken out so many plants. So yeah, in theory, I should actually reduce the amount of fertilizer. I would leave the CO2 constant. Always leave the CO2 constant if you can during the photo period. Often have it off at night with a solenoid. Most of you guys probably know that by now. But keep your CO2 constant. Potentially reduce your fertilizers. If your other plants are healthy though, the extra fertilizers isn't going to harm them. Plants have a thing called luxury uptake where they've kind of evolved to take in more nutrients than they need, and they kind of hold them in. They take them in. I think this is just an evolutionary thing, maybe in times of drought or times of low nutrient conditions, where they have to kind of, in times of good nutrient conditions, they learn to store them in, for when the low nutrient conditions occur. So, but yeah, I'd leave the light, leave the CO2, and maybe just reduce the fertilizers. But I've just kept everything constant and to no ill effect before. So see how you get on yourself with that one. Thank you for the super chat, mate. Steve Killingback, music. Hi mate, first real aquascape is now up and running. I'm over the moon. You were and still are a major player in achieving my goal, and I'm really grateful. Oh, thank you, Steve. Really appreciate that. Hope your first aquascape goes well. I know we talked probably a couple of years ago now of me scaping for you. Obviously you're doing it yourself, which is great news. So congratulations, and keep me updated on how you get on with it. I really look forward to hearing how you get on. Miranda Harris, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Hi George. I get so bored with water changes. What equipment do you recommend to make life easier? I'm currently using a 5-gallon bucket and it takes forever. Miranda, you need to check out my how I do big water changes video. So Candy, the legend, I'm sure we'll link to that. Very, very quickly, I run a long siphon hose directly out of my aquarium all the way into the garden, and I pump it directly in from my kitchen. There's a 20-minute video on it, so check it out. Green Nature Aquariums, $4.99, thank you so much. Do I add tropical ferts after every 50% water change on a newly planted tank, or just add the ferts weekly as recommended? Cheers, George. Thanks for the super chat, mate. I personally add fertilizers every day, no matter what. I just keep it really consistent, even on water change day. In fact, I use an auto doser now, but it's just my habit that I've built into my daily routine. It's auto dosed on here. All my other tanks, I just go around with my squeezy pump bottle and I just do the same, daily liquid fertilizer every day on all the tanks. So that's what I do, just to keep things regular. And I'd maybe start doing daily dosing rather than weekly, because I understand that in my experience is that plants respond a little bit better to having a small amount of food every day rather than a large amount of food once a week. So try the daily dosing. My recommendation, just for a sort of beginner setup without CO2 or highlight, 1 pump of the fertilizer per day per 50 litres. That's my kind of starting point. Candy's linked to the how I do large water changes video. Thank you so much. Right, how are we doing? We've got 346 people watching and we've got 185 likes. So if you want to keep me running for a little bit longer, hit that like button. Really appreciate it. And let's see if we can get to 200 likes in the next couple of minutes. That'd be really appreciated. Okay, this is a good question. Lee, will my tank do okay with CO2 and good light but no ferts? No. Basically, you need to add fertilizers to feed the plants. CO2 is only one part of the food, which is the carbon. And the lights, obviously, they need to photosynthesize and the carbon, but they also need the other macro and micronutrients. If you don't give them those, they can potentially get a lot from the substrate, depending on what substrate you have, and you might have a lot in your tap water, maybe even some in the fish food. But if you have good light and CO2, those plants are going to want to grow really, really well. They want to grow quickly, and because they want to grow quickly, they need more food. So, definitely recommend adding liquid fertilizers. Those are great questions coming in. And we've got 230 likes now. Thank you so much. There's 355 of you watching. Let's see if we can get it to 300 likes in the next 10 minutes, and then I'll stay on for a little bit longer. I tend to leave these for an hour or so, but if we can engage with you guys, hit that like button. What the like button does, it's really good fun to see it going up, of course, but it just triggers the algorithm of YouTube. My mission is to promote aquascaping, get these videos viewed by as many people as we can, to get the beautiful world of aquascaping to coin Green Aquas, to coin their phrase, to get it spread far and wide. I think there's a lot of value in these live streams. I really enjoy doing them. And if you hit that like button, more and more people may be able to watch it as well. So let's see if we can get it to 300. McTaggart family, how you doing, mate? Shout out to Steve. I did a tank for McTaggart family. Was it about a year ago or so? Really great guy. Was in part of his home. Met his daughter, met his wife, had dinner with them, had some wine. Scaped his beautiful, I think it was a 5-foot aquarium. I think he's got discus in there now. We stay in contact. He sends me little videos via WhatsApp of how it's getting on. So shout out to you, mate. And do you have a question? I just got a bit sidetracked there about getting excited about seeing you on here. I can't see you now. Where are you? Steve, getting back. McTaggart family, where are you? Oh, I've lost you, mate. Write your question in again if it was a question. "100 likes equals 10 minutes extra." There we go. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I want to give. Oh, here we go. Book Taggart, I found you. I hope the family are good. Tank's looking great. The scape you did for us is looking fab. Oh, that's great to hear, mate. This is the great thing about my job, because I do these private installations for clients. Obviously, I can't do that at the moment with lockdown. But it's one of my favourite things, is going to someone's home. They invite me into their home, and we create the aquascape, or I create the aquascape. We do some consultancy beforehand to find out what their taste is, what they like the look of. I get everything in for them, and then I create the scape for them. And then more often than not, we become friends. And then they send me updates to their tanks. If they have any issues, I can help them out. And this is great. And McTaggart family there, just a great example of that. So shout out to you, mate. Really appreciate it. This is a good question from MH Aquatics. Do I ever aquascape to a specific fish I want to keep? Yes. So a good example is the cichlid tank there. So obviously just rocks, no plants. I did try plants in there, but I didn't like them. I put some anubias in there. And I have done lots of biotope aquascapes in the past. Talking about 10 years ago now for practical fish keeping. Did a series for about a year or so of biotopes, which were aquascapes specifically designed to replicate the natural habitat of that particular fish species. Something I'm considering doing again in my OR's a Starline 125. And I've got an exclusive bit of news for you. If we can get 300 likes, so oh, this is good fun. If we get 300 likes, and I'm going to tell you some exclusive news. And it's about a new big tank. So hit the like and you'll find out more. But until that happens, I want to show these off actually. So Chihiros, a Chinese company, lighting brand. I think they do the kind of twin star, you know, the not twin star, they're Chihiros, but they're the sterilizers as well. But they do lighting, and this is I think this is their kind of flagship model, the RGB Vivid, which I've got two of these that I'm going to put over the top of here. I need to get a lighting hanging kit, which I think is either in my garage or I gave it away to someone. But I need to get a new lighting hanging kit to fit these. But I'm going to do it after I've done a final photo shoot on this, because my fear is that putting these on it will just affect everything in here, and the plants might get algae, or the plant growth might not be quite so good for that short period of time. So in 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to change the Twin Star over to these, and I will do a bit of a review as well and compare the Twin Star to these to see how it looks, and you guys can see a direct comparison. And what I like to do is actually keep the camera settings the same, or change the camera settings, so I try to get how the actual tank looks to your eye, rather than relying on the camera to kind of figure it out. Because obviously with digital cameras and their fancy kind of color grading and white balance and exposure settings, it's really hard to get you know what the human eye is picking up. So I try to adjust that, and you get a real kind of true comparison of how they compare. So that's exciting. We haven't got 300 likes yet, so I'm not going to tell you what the new project. I will do. I'm just going to wait. We'll try and get 300 likes. So I've got 362 of you watching, and by my maths, 69% of you have hit the like button. So 31% of you aren't enjoying this. That's terrible. I'm just joking. It's fine. Yeah, these lights are basically a copy of the ADA Sailor RGB, but these are programmable with the Bluetooth on your phone, so you can change the spectrum and the intensity, which you can't on the ADA. That said, the ADA Sailor RGBs are the best lights I've ever seen in person over a tank yet, but I haven't seen these yet. So I'm going to remain open-minded about that one. And I guess the disadvantage about the solar RGB, it isn't controllable right now. So if you wanted to run, lower lighting, if you're running shade-loving plants or you've got a smaller aquarium, but you love the spectrum of the solar RGB, then running 130 watts of LED might not be appropriate for you. Josh ATX, do I think the Fluval Plant 3 light is decent? Do you know what, Josh? I've never actually used it in person, and I'm not even sure if I've seen it in the flesh. I've seen people using it online. I think my friend Mark Dorey is probably watching. I think he had one and he upgraded to the Twin Star. Mark, if you're watching, why don't you kind of reply to Josh, let him know what you think to it, because you've got actual personal experience of the Fluval 3.0. Chem Eke, Twin Star S Series or Jahiros White WRGB2, what do I recommend? I've never actually seen the Jahiros or used it yet, so I can't say, but I can say the Twin Star S is a very good light unit. Most of you know I've been using them for years, and big fan of Twin Star in general, really good company. Used to support the channel, and as you can see, this is the S, the 1200S, and it's grown the plants great, and I think it looks great as well. One more. Oh, we've got 300 likes. Yay. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. It's only a bit of fun, but it's really good to have this kind of live engagement with you. Okay, so I am in a... I'm gonna give a time frame. I can't guarantee this, but I'm going to say in about 3 months' time, I'm going to be upgrading the Aquascape 1200 to a Nawase Highline 400. So about 25% bigger than this aquarium. Huge fan of the Highlines. They do come with a hood, so not to everyone's tastes. A lot of aquascapers prefer open top tanks, but I do love the Highlines. Real premium quality build. It's a bigger tank, so it gives me more options for fish, and I'm going to create a discus. I'm really excited about it. Stunning discus aquascape, and I've done discus before. There is a video of my discus aquascape, but it was before I was really into YouTube, so it's not great. I think it's only about 30 seconds long. But yeah, I'm going to just use Amazon swords, or Echinodora species, maybe some other South American plant species, bold driftwood, super classy, and yeah, I'm going to try and make it one of the best discus aquascapes the UK's ever seen. That's going to be my mission, and I'm really excited by it. So that's going to be where this is. So, in 3 months' time, hopefully I'll be sat here, on my Sunday night live stream at 7 PM, and I'll have beautiful discus next to me instead. So, yeah, I do love open top tanks. I've still got the AquaCube, but as I'm kind of getting more further down my aquascaping journey, my career path, I'm enjoying hooded tanks a little bit more. Less risk of jumping fish, less evaporation, less heat loss, and you don't get the ugly kind of hard water mark as the water's evaporating. So my taste is slowly changing. I do really still love rimless tanks. There's something about having this floating column of water with wood coming out, with emergent plant growth, and I will always have a rimless tank in the home. But the more tanks I have, the more I kind of realise, having a hooded tank serves a more kind of practical purpose. And it's all about balancing the aesthetics with the practicality, isn't it? If I had 6 rimless tanks, I would be doing so much more maintenance. I can't stand to see that hard water mark, so I'll be constantly wiping that, doing water changes, etc., topping them up. So yeah, that's what's happening. And a Nawase Highline 400, potentially in black. I think white is a little bit kind of 2010s. So we're in the 2020s now, and I think black or maybe anthracite grey might be in keeping with this space a bit more now. I'm just going to go off on a tangent. Aquascaping is obviously my passion, my hobby as well as my career. But I'm finding, because I'm aquascaping like every day and I'm surrounded by aquascapes, I'm talking about aquascapes, I'm on social media about aquascapes, I'm writing a book about aquascapes, and they're a great therapeutic and a great escape. But sometimes now, because it is a full-on career for me, I have to have a little bit of a break from aquascapes, believe it or not. And so I have invested in an Xbox X. And I've just got one game at the moment. I don't go online gaming. I've got Forza Horizon 4. I love racing car games. I'm a big, back in the day with the original PlayStation, Gran Turismo 2. Huge fan of car racing games. So absolutely adore this Forza Horizon 4. Let me know in the comments if anyone else is into Forza. We're going to see all the people watching just drop right down now because we're talking about gaming. But yeah, really, really love gaming. I've even got a 4K monitor here now. This plugs into my MacBook Pro as well, and also into my Xbox. So this is my kind of entertainment center. So when I'm not writing my book or doing YouTube, just switch on the Xbox and get into some gaming. I'm even thought about getting one of those, the steering wheels with the feedback. So you actually feel in and an accelerator pedal, even one with a clutch and manual gearbox. So yeah, I'm digressing massively. Okay, I'm going to answer 5 more questions and then I'm going to say cheerio because we're over the hour now. It's Sunday evening and I've got a glass of red wine date with my beautiful wife. So let's answer quick fire 5 questions. William Spencer, shout out to William, big supporter of the channel. Really appreciate you, William. One thing that you know now do you wish you knew when you began? God, that's a good question. Never underestimate the importance of water changes and healthy plants. That's it. Quick fire. Weymouth and... Oh, we've got a super chat that I've missed. Sorry, guys. Jimmy Snicks, £5 for the 600S Twin Star. What intensity settings would you set up on a new aquascaper, and how would you change these over the life of the aquarium? I'd start off with half power and then end up with full power after 4 weeks, and gradually incrementally up from the 50% to the 100% over that 4-week period. Richard Tanks, what can I grow easy plant wise? Hi Richard Tanks, I'm not sure what system you've got, but just go onto the Tropico website, look at all the easy category plants, and even with low lighting and non-CO2, you should have success with the majority of those species. Okay, 2 more questions to go. S Whiskey, good amount of people in here. Yep. Thanks, mate. Shout out to S Whiskey, by the way. If you don't follow him on YouTube, super talented filmmaker and editor. He's edited a couple of my videos, especially the Meet the Scaper, where I've got 2 or 3 cameras running. Super nice guy. He's actually a partner with Lizzie, who is a moderator on here as well. So shout out to Lizzie and to Jimmy, 2 of the sweetest guys that I know in the hobby. Oh, this is a great question. Tomek Suri, what's your biggest mistake in aquascaping? Biggest mistake? That's a great question. Not doing enough maintenance. Yeah, and being impatient. Yeah, expecting instant gratification is a big kind of issue with aquascaping. So if you can delay gratification, learn to appreciate the journey more than the destination, and then that's a real good kind of path to success. Okay, going to do the last question. Okay, I'm going to end up with my good friend Mark Dorr. Will I be doing more Meet the Scapers? Could do a live version whilst on lockdown. Yes, absolutely will do more Meet the Scapers when lockdown's finished. The trouble is with a kind of video version is it's just logistically really challenging, and I don't really have the time. It sounds a bit of a cop-out, but I'm super focused on getting the book finished, doing a lot of hours for Tropica, Awase and the other brands I work with. That's why I'm not doing so much of my own YouTube content right now. So yeah, I definitely will do more Meet the Scapers. Mark, I would, whilst I'm live, I would love to come and do a Meet the Scaper with you because I love your Aquascape 900. Let's set a date for that when this lockdown's finished. Okay guys, thanks. I want to say special thanks to the moderating team this evening. I know they've been doing an epic job, really, really busy on here. We've had almost 400 people watching at once, which is fantastic. We had loads of super chats, so I really appreciate that. It does help. You know, I am self-employed, I am on lockdown, so I can't do workshops, I can't do private installations, etc. So these do help to support me financially, and I really appreciate that. And hopefully you get some value out of these streams as well, for hopefully learning some stuff and getting your questions answered. Apologies to those I haven't answered. They do get so many coming through, but I do appreciate them all. And I appreciate everyone in the chat, especially those that have been answering the questions to the newcomers and the less experienced. I think we're building a really great community here, and I'm really excited to evolve this stream that's going to be hopefully happening every Sunday for the foreseeable future. I know we're on lockdown, a lot of us right now, a lot of us are going through some challenges. Stay safe, guys, look after yourselves, look after your family and your friends, and I'm going to say cheerio. You take care, keep on scaping. Cheerio again.